Hello, welcome back to the Three Thumbs Up podcast. I am your host, Owen Beatty. I have three thumbs, get over it. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Three Thumbs Up podcast. We made it! This isn't the 10th week because I did do a Thursday show. It was a while back. I kind of cut that out because Monday, even though I hate Mondays, who doesn't hate Mondays? Mondays are atrocious. Mondays aren't good. I mean, it has to happen because if there wasn't a Monday, it'd be Tuesday. And Tuesday would be the Monday, right? If this is how I'm starting off the episode. But I should start off the episode by thanking all my supporters. One of them, like, I haven't mentioned them enough. The Derp Report. They're a podcast based out of the Yukon, over in the igloo side of Canada. It's over in the west. If you're an American, you're listening to this, and you have no idea what Yukon is. Yukon is the Alaska of Canada, I would say. No offense. It's like, oh, it's a thing. It's cold and people live there, but whatever. we ignore them, but they're still there, just like the Newfies. I'm kidding. But really, the Derp Report, I appreciate it. Everything you said about me on their last podcast, I'll link it in the description below. It'll be on the SoundCloud and such. No, they're just a bunch of guys talking about hockey. There's nothing, well, they used to do politics. There's nothing driving them to say one thing. They're fans, a show for fans made by fans. It's a great podcast, and if you're listening to this, I don't care if you are, because I love listening to my voice. Go over there. They talk about a bunch. They have a Sharks fan, they have a Leafs fan, and they have a Toronto fan. That's a wide range of teams, even though two of those teams suck. Joking. Sorry, that was mean. No. This their shout out on my podcast was the highlight of my year, to be honest. It's been a weird year for me, and that made me happy. More than happy, happier than Steve Dangle liking my tweet or Dark Guy following me, to be honest. And it shows that what I do, even though I don't care if anybody's listening, that I'm not just speaking nonsense, which I do sometimes, but I'm speaking and people are retaining some of that information. And I appreciate it, the Derp Report. All of you over there at the Derp Report, I love the show. Keep on doing what you're doing. No more one podcast a month. You gotta go, or once a week, or once every 2 weeks. I love what you do. It's so, your chemistry, all your chemistry really works well together. The Leafs fan, the Canucks fan, the San Jose fan. I can't remember if he was on the last episode or not. There's a lot of talking, and it's a Derp Report, just go listen. Just go listen. Especially the last one, because they talked about me, and that made me really happy, because I'm a narcissist. I wouldn't say I'm a narcissist, because I'm the farthest thing from it, but I do love listening to my name. I don't know. Is that weird? I don't care. No, but I appreciate it. I really do. So, if you're listening to this, get on that. Get on the more than once a month podcast thing. I love what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing. And I also have to address something. The biggest mistake, considering I'm a movie buff, the biggest mistake I have made on this podcast. Last Monday, the 31st, never mind. See, when I wrote down my notes, because I write notes to keep myself on track, right? I know. Because I'm stupid. I don't know. I thought, I'm dumb. I had written down yesterday that today is the 31st. Today is not Halloween. Today is the 30th, and last Monday would have been the 23rd of October. So the 23rd of October, 2017, on the Monday, around like 7-ish. I don't know why I'm getting so specific. I was talking about some movies. And the title of the podcast was The Happening, referring to what I had thought the movie The Happening. I thought The Happening was the Nicolas Cage movie where he knew future events like disasters, and I related that to the Montreal Canadiens and how I'm kind of like a wizard at that sort of thing. And oh, I knew the moment I turned off that podcast, something was wrong. My brain was telling me like, "No, you said the wrong thing." And it's not like I'm going to restart the podcast or add something to the podcast to show that I messed up, because I'm explaining it here. The Happening was a totally different movie. I don't think I have seen The Happening. Who is in it? The guy from The Martian. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. Let me. I'm gonna find it right now. Matt Damon. Matt Damon was in that movie. I'm pretty sure. There aren't a lot of people that look like Matt Damon. Even there's a lot of white people that look the same. He's not one of them. Now, the movie that I was referring to, the one I thought I was referring to, was The Knowing, or Knowing. I don't know why. Happening sounds so much cooler. Knowing is one of those words that can't be alone. It's like knowing. Like happening sounds unique. I don't know. It's weird coming from me. It's, how do I say this? You have to put a the in front of them, right? I don't know. The Knowing. I don't know. So Nicolas Cage was in The Knowing, and Matt Damon was in The Happening. So the title of the podcast last week, I was trying to be so smart. I was like, yeah, this one makes sense because The Happening. So that is my mess up for last week, and I'm sure I'm gonna make one this week. I'm sure about it. I'm really pronouncing my S's today. I don't know why I'm a snake. I don't know. So on to my next thing. The Montreal Canadiens had a week of hockey last week. Surprising. We are in hockey season, so teams do play hockey. And I'm going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens for a few minutes as I look at my non-existent watch. It's currently freckle, and it's going to take some time to talk about them. So, the Montreal Canadiens. I don't care if you... I don't care. I'm talking about them. You hear me? I'm talking about them because I'm allowed to, because I'm a Montreal Canadian. I almost said something different. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I'm allowed to talk about them. You don't see Leafs fans being like, "Oh, why don't you?" I'm going to talk about the Habs. So, the Montreal Canadiens, first game last week, I'm pretty sure it was on the 24th of October, and they played the Florida Panthers, and coming into that game, they were 2-7. 1-7. 2-7? Pretty sure they were 1-7 coming into that game. Do you want me to check? They sucked coming into that game. They really sucked. And I had been spewing all of that. And going to the game, I'm like, I predicted that we would lose 4-2. We didn't lose! Not surprising. We do play Florida really well. They're one of the teams that, one of those bounce back games. And here's my point. You want me to run down this? You want me to run down? Okay, I'll run down the scoring and such. So Carey Price played. I'm gonna get to Carey Price soon. Don't worry about it. So Keith Yandle scored 20 seconds in. I had just finished tweeting about the game starting, and then Keith Yandle scores. I'm like, oh my god, no! And then later, no, that was the second period, sorry. I can't read. Can you read? I can't. What's the difference between 1 and 2? I don't know. Apparently. Thanks, the score. So, first period was a bunch of things, and second period, early into the second period, Keith Yandle's just like, blah, 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 and scores Jonathan Huberdeau and Barkov. And then late in the period, 16 minutes in, Alex Galchenyuk gets his second on the power play, assisted by Brendan Gallagher, and Jonathan Drouin is having a season. And then Shea Weber on the power play, assisted by Jonathan Drouin and Andrew Shaw, Weber's second. And then Brendan Gallagher scores a tough one 17 seconds after the Shea Weber goal on the power play. And then we go to the third period. Shea Weber gets his third, assisted by Lehkonen. And then then I can't read. And then the fifth goal, scored by Captain Max Pacioretty, is second, assisted by Philip Dagneau and Jordy Ben. And that was a good game. I thought Price played fantastic, stopping 26 out of 27 shots. Montreal got 37 shots. It was a game, and I enjoyed the game, but I don't know. There was a part of me that I wasn't interested after the second period. I'm like, oh yeah. I was on my phone, even though I was tweeting and such, but I wasn't. I was happy we were winning, don't get me wrong. It's just I felt Montreal was going to do something awful. Did I say 3-0? 3-1, sorry. No. There's just something in the back of my head after this season and the season before that tells me or says to me that something awful is going to go wrong. So be ready, prepare your body, Owen. And I kind of cringed during the third. Florida had a couple chances and Price shut the door after that weird Keith Yandle goal. Big contract, huh? But Keith Yandle, how many dollars do you make a year? 7 something? I don't know. Not $7, 7 million or something. I don't want to check it up. I don't want to go to Cap Friendly. I have a lot of tabs open. And then we stroll. We don't stroll into LA. The Angeles Kings come to Montreal, and I'm like, you know what? Redemption game. And in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, Montreal's not winning this one. LA is so hot. Oh my god. They are on fire. One of their best starts in franchise history. Currently, they are 9-1-1. I knew they were just going full Super Saiyan. Just the entire season, they hadn't lost a regulation game yet up to that point, I don't think. So? Did they? I don't know if they did. But they did lose one after that, I think. Whatever. And I'm like, oh god, oh no. We'll remember what happened last game, Andrew Kemp, and so this one sucked. So 4-0 lost after the first 2 goals. I'm like, that's it for Montreal. There is no way we are coming back from this. And I know I was right. Montreal can't come back. And you can say, oh, what about in the Anaheim game? They almost came back from 3-2. Almost. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. It's an old saying said by the famous hoo-ha and something. I can't remember who said it. I don't remember. I haven't watched old TV. I don't know who said it. Just get over it. So, yeah, that game was sad. What did I turn off the TV? I turned off the TV after the second period or midway through the third and watched the Toronto Maple Leafs game because I wanted to be entertained. And then they lost to Carolina. I'm like, oh, whatever, the Leafs lost. I'm not too sad. Habs lost. I'm like, maybe we keep losing and we get closer to... Bergevin. Bye-bye. So the LA game was gone. So Carey hasn't... So, I forgot the biggest thing. In Montreal, in the Bell Center, Late into the third, I had missed this part of the game, and I was reading all about it. The fans were booing Carey Price. First of all, what the hell, Montreal? You don't deserve to watch this game if you boo the greatest goaltender in the world. Don't tell me Jonathan Quick is. I still don't believe he's an elite goaltender. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can't call Corey Crawford an elite goaltender because, I mean, he had cups, but he's not an elite goaltender. I'm sorry. I mean, you have a stacked defense, but Martin Brodeur had a stacked defense. That was Martin Brodeur. He also led the New Jersey Devils to a lot of postseasons on his back. Carey Price. You cannot boo him. I remember early into his career, I can't remember, it was a really bad game on his standards. He stopped a shot similar to the Patrick Waugh stop. He raised his arms in the air like Patrick Waugh, remember that? And they booed him that game. They went boo, like the Patrick Waugh game, like they cheered, but it was a mocking cheer. And in this game, you can see the frustration. He's a very chill guy. He breaks his stick over things and he gets mad. He usually goes on this stint where he breaks his stick and he gets mad and he plays so amazing. And he did against Florida. He didn't play great against LA or the Angeles Kings, might I add. Sponsored by Tomb Raider, whatever. Is that a running joke? Should I end that joke? I'm sorry. So, Carey Price. What do I have to say about the fans booing and people demanding for Carey Price's head? Go away. You shouldn't be watching this sport. Go watch football or soccer, whatever. I don't handball or kickball. I don't care. No. You do not deserve to watch this sport. Go ahead. I mean, I'm sure the owners love it. They love money. Who doesn't love money? I don't respect that. Nobody booed Gretzky. I mean, if they were in Philadelphia or something. Nobody boos Gretzky or Yager or Gordie Howe or Martin Brodeur. If you boo them, you don't deserve to be watching this game. You don't go out and boo Tom Brady and all the legends of other sports. Did I call him a legend? I don't really watch football. I mean, if I was a football fan, I don't know what I would like. I mean, Buffalo's closest, but I know they're really bad. I don't watch football or soccer. I watch the MLB. I don't see the MLB fans booing their legends, because if you boo legends, that's sacrilege. That is against the sporting religion to boo legends. Carey Price is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. I can guarantee it. Playing on this god-awful team and still playing. Still coming back every day. I don't see Patrick Waugh doing that. He left. He left for greener pastures, and he won a Stanley Cup in Colorado. Good for him. Carey Price is still here. And it's sad to see this. It's sad when in post-game interviews he's got a kid at home, he's got a wife, beautiful family, and he has to come there. The criticism. Don't tell me that Toronto is the worst sporting media place for players. Montreal is the worst place for media. The absolute worst. Players are burned at the stake every chance the reporters get. Oh, they play a bad game. Call for the heads. Call for their heads. Yeah, Carey Price hasn't been playing up to standards. Let's name their defense, bottom pairings. Jeff Petrie, he's not so bad. Brendan Davidson, who also looks like Dracula. Am I the only one that thinks he looks like Dracula? Kind of looks like Dracula. I'm going to suck your blood. You have Jordy Ben. Who else do we got? Oh, we got Carl Alsner, who I know people keep hating on him, But he makes some terrific plays, but he also makes some horrendous plays like, how do you play defense? How are you in the NHL? But I don't hate him. He isn't on the level of Desharnais hate. David Desharnais. I can't say Desharnais on its own. It has to be David Desharnais. I don't like him. As a person, I'm sure he's fantastic. I'm sure he's a lovely person. Hated his game. I don't hate Alzner's, kinda, but I don't hate him as a person. Where was I? Bottom defenseman. We have Victor Mete. Oh, he's so good. He's staying in the NHL, everybody. There's a 10-game thing where if they're in the league for 10 games and their entry-level contract turns on. Same with Nolan Patrick. They both hit the 10 games on the same night. So the first year of their contract, entry-level contract, is being burned at the moment. That sounds wrong. Burned at the moment. They're not getting burned, but taking 1 year. It's their first year of their entry-level contract because, they're still technically rookies if they don't play, 20-something games? Or is that for goaltenders? 40-something games for rookies? Whatever. Still don't think Panarin should have won Rookie of the Year award. That's all I'm saying. He's already 26, so I don't get it. He won it 2 years ago. McDavid should have won it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You can fight me if you want. Poor Carey. Poor Carey. He's been with this franchise since 2005. Drafted, I remember this. One of the analytics or people at the draft was like, oh, that's a bad pick. They should have picked somebody else. Crosby went first overall. Who went second overall? Was it Stahl? Was it Taves? I can't remember that. He went fifth overall. Carey Price did. And everybody's just like, wow, you picked him? Wow, a goaltender. You never pick a goaltender that high. I mean, Pittsburgh did it a few years earlier, so stop hating on Fleury. And Carey Price defied the odds, even though the odds were for him. But playing in a market like Montreal his entire career, being this good for this long, is hard in a market like this. See, look at Henrik Lundqvist. He's carried his team for the past decade, and you have to think about rebuilding and such. New York has only missed the playoffs, once, twice since then? Since him starting? Since him being the franchise of their franchise? Their face? Their generational talent? For New York, he is. Playing for a team this long and keeping that aura with you is one thing. How does he do it? With all the criticism, I would understand if you were in a market like Buffalo or Florida, if you stay on a team that long. I mean, right? I'm trying to think of a player on Florida, but I didn't want to say somebody like Young that they weren't around a decade ago. But being in a market like this, for being Carey Price, the best, I don't care, he's the best goalie in the world, he carries teams, but it's hard to carry your team when there's no team in front of you. There's no team in front of him. There is no team in front of him. Yeah, Pacioretty, oh, he's great. I don't hate him, but he does suck sometimes, and I'm sorry. He's not going to be the captain forever, and he's not been an amazing captain. There was a whole thing how he wanted PK out, that's why he was traded. I don't believe that. He's a decent human being. What human being would do that? I'm sure you can name a few. Right? Right. And who else? Brendan Gallagher, he's been okay this year. Okay being none of her considering Dorsett for Vancouver has not Doorstop, Dorsett, that guy playing on the first line with Vancouver. How many goals does he have? Like 5? a lot. He has a lot of goals, more than any person on Montreal. Think about that. He's an elite player. Bergevin is on his tail. He is calling you right now, Vancouver. He wants Derek Dorsett for 4 first-round picks. You hear me? God. Yeah, you know it. It's Marc Bergevin. Can't really say anything anymore. It's Marc Bergevin. What else is he going to do? I want Tanner Glass. He's signed. I want Tanner Glass. Why Tanner Glass? Because I want Tanner Glass. Sorry. Let me get back on track. So, Carey Price, for all the people saying he sucks, he hasn't been playing up to Carey Price-like standards. Think about the Colorado Avalanche last year. And don't worry, I'm going to get to bad teams soon. The Colorado Avalanche last year. Do you think a goaltender like Calvin Pickard would be playing up to his standards or playing like Calvin Pickard? Like he was on that god-awful team. Oh, they were bad. And we're going to talk about bad soon. I'm trying to segue into it, and we're going to talk about bad soon because there's a lot of bad things to talk about. Bad as in like, what the... It is Halloween, so there are some spooky things. So, where the hell was I? Where was I? Montreal. I gotta go down the ladder. Montreal. Marc Bergevin. Bad. Bad. Calvin Pickard. Right. He wouldn't be playing up to Calvin Pickard's standards. He did have his career high season in wins, considering he played the entire season. Semyon Varlamov was hurt the entire year. He went out like in the first 2 months. He wouldn't be playing up to him. He didn't have a team in front of him. Yeah, he had Nathan MacKinnon. Montreal has Pacioretty, Weber, Mate, Galchenyuk. And don't get me started on Galchenyuk. He is a very good NHL player. Don't start with me. Don't. So, Carey Price isn't going to be playing up to Carey Price standards. Yeah, he carried the team a few years ago. Remember that year when he won the Hart, the Vezina, the William M. Jennings, all those trophies? The Selke, I believe? Did he win the Selke? Is the Selke the most sportsmanlike trophy? I think. He swept up the trophies that year, just like Connor McDavid did last year. He had a team behind him then. He had scoring. He had at least minimal scoring. And his confidence wasn't at an all-time low. Like when he was the backup for Yaroslav Halak when everybody wanted to trade him. And people thought he was traded, but nope, Halak to St. Louis. Could you imagine how many Stanley Cups St. Louis would have won by now? Just imagine. Gets me mad every time I talk about it. How people try to get across the point how Carey Price isn't very good and how you can boo him and how you want his head. You know whose head you should be getting or acquiring, just getting his head? Go to the management. You will find your answer there. Do I want to end with Bergevin or do I want to end on a good note? I'm going to end with Bergevin later. Last point in the podcast. Don't worry about it. This makes me mad. That LA game, and especially the things happening after it, made me quite upset. See, as a hockey fan, you are not a hockey fan if you are not a die-hard hockey fan of your team if after a blowout game you do not wake up mad. You can't sleep well. You do not wake up and be like, ugh, this friggin' team. But you love them. That is me. I wake up like that. I'm like, wow, that can set my night. the way it is going to go. It's going to set my day. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy that my team is doing good. Like, Montreal's not doing very good. You're I know most of the people saying, Carey Price, we need his head, aren't diehard fans. They don't think that. They don't. They're probably, mostly MLB is my favorite. You can't just assume things. If you haven't seen this team play, you can't speak on it. But you speak on Vegas and Toronto. I've seen them play, and I know a lot about them. I can speak on them because I feel like it. I'm allowed to give my opinion because I'm allowed to. So, away from that. I'm going to get away from that. More positivity. Here we go. Positivity. I'm a negative guy. I'm sorry. So, the Montreal Canadiens played the New York Rangers the game after the LA game, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to come into here against New York after getting shut out 2-0 against them. I think it was 2-0. Was it? Remember that game where we should have scored 2 goals, but the refs are just like, no goal. Yeah, 2 minutes forward, you can't do that, right? Right. So, we go into the New York game. I believe we were in the Bell Center, both at the bottom of their conferences, New York, at the time of this game. No idea. So they are currently 3-7-2. Montreal is currently 3-7-1, both bottom of their divisions. So, Montreal starts Carey Price. That makes sense. That makes sense. And New York starts Andre Pavelec. I know Henrik Lundqvist hasn't been great this season. He hasn't been dancing around Broadway like he usually does. But you started Andre Pavelec. You can't. Okay. If you give Montreal enough opportunities, they're going to screw that up. But if you give them more than enough, they'll still find a way to screw it up. But if you give them plenty more opportunities, they're gonna get a hole in one. Andre Pavlik. Oh wow, he played great a couple years ago for Winnipeg. Wow, well he's so good. Okay, so whenever I usually roast or say something about a player, they usually go on a streak or do great or make an amazing save or have an amazing goal the game after. Just like when David Desharnais again. We're bringing him back into this podcast. I haven't talked about him enough, you know? Whenever I would make fun of him or say he is doing garbage, he would score a goal or get an assist or do something fancy. And Andre Pavlik, I remember listening to the Steve Dangle podcast a few years ago, and they had made fun of Andre Pavlik back when he was with Winnipeg, and how, oh, he sucks. Hellebuck, or is it Hellebuck or Hutchinson? Hutchinson should be getting most of the starts. And then Andre Pavlik wins a lot of games, and they're like, oh, dang. That's what it reminds me of every time I make fun of a player. So if you give Montreal more than enough chances, they'll screw that up too. But if they will find a way to screw it up. See, they screw it up a lot. They just have that ability. That's their superpower. They can do that anyway. You can give them plenty of chances but if you give them Andre Pavlik, they're going to find a way. So first period, 7 minutes and 51 seconds in, the Flash Paul Byron scores, assisted by Jonathan Drouin. And then later, Alex Galchenyuk gets his third. I'm pretty sure that's his third goal on the power play, assisted by Brendan Gallagher and Philippe Dagneau, his first of 4 points that night. And then later, 2 minutes later, or just under 2 minutes later, Philippe Dagneau gets his second of the season, assisted by Andrew Shaw and Shea Weber, his second point on the night. Pavel Buchnevich scores for New York early into the second period. And then Rick Nash scores, and I'm like, no, they're they're coming back! This isn't fair! This isn't fair! Eric Fair. I don't know. Sorry. If you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, you'll get the reference. And then Max Pacioretty just goes out of his way, finally gets the friggin' Harambe off his back. I mean, gorilla off his... monk... No, it's not really a monkey. It's a friggin' gorilla. It's a truck. It's a tanker truck full of gorillas on his back. He gets the goal, assisted by Shea Weber and Philip Danault. And then early into the third period... Mika Zibanejad, how I was literally talking about him as he scored. And then the defenseman, Brady Shea scores. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Brady Shea scores his second. And we're all tied up, and I'm like, oh, you Montreal, you were leading 3-0. I wasn't getting mad at Price. I'm like, there are so many plays here. Brennan Davidson, what the hell are you doing? Jordy Ben, what the hell are you doing? Jeff Petrie, what are you doing? There's so many plays this game that could have been avoided. 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, 2-on-2s that could have been avoided if they just played well. Played like they should possibly be playing. But no. They don't do their jobs. I would rather much have a defenseman that wasn't so flashy and just did their job. Dump the puck, get the puck out, just defend, poke check. All the things defensemen should be doing instead of the fancy passes, trying to get it off the boards and for a breakaway. Montreal is not a team built for that. One of our major flaws. When I switched from the Montreal game to the Toronto game because I felt sad and very sad and I just wanted to watch some decent hockey, the LA game, not this game, because I watched this game full through, it was just a totally different style of game. They just went into the zone. There was no dumping. I'm like, why isn't Toronto dumping that puck? Why aren't they Dad, why are they not dumping the puck? What are they doing? Montreal... I know what Montreal does is stupid. It's just the whole system. Montreal's system. And you know what Montreal's system includes? Sticking to defense. Playing defense. Defense. Playing defense. Whatever. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. So... they just have to play defense. They have to stick to their mission. Their mission is to play defense. Like every player has their, I'm trying to think of the word, player they need to protect, or one defenseman stays back, one defenseman stays forward, but there's a bunch of random clutter in the middle. They could be great 1 minute, like the second period against Anaheim a while ago. We had like a bunch of shots, like 30 shots or some odd, 27? Something around there. And then we can go to, hey, Petrie, just pass it up. Oh my God, Petrie! Petrie dish. Petrie trying to dish it up, and he does some stupid things. Most of Montreal's bottom defense. Going back to the Carey Price point, as in he doesn't have a team in front of him. The two bottom lines on Montreal are third pairing defensemen at best on a good team, like Jeff Petrie and Carl Alsner. Those are I named the two best two bottom pairing guys on the team. And then you have Jordy Ben and Brennan Davidson. Brennan Davidson also looks like Dracula. Ha ha ha. I'm going to suck the life out of this game. Hey, and positivity. Here we go. Philip Danault, 2 minutes later, scores its 4th point of the game. Let me just get past this game. It wasn't a very good game by the long shot. We had 43 shots. New York had 26. And oh my, Price didn't have a very good game. But you can't blame him for a lot of things. There were a few shots that he should have had. But there were a few like, so is defense taking a night off? Are they going to the pub or something? Oh, they're going for some poutine, so you're just going to leave me here. Montreal's defense has done this forever. It's just finally breaking through like, wow, we're not very good. So Montreal does play tonight, and they play the Ottawa Senators. I think they are in Montreal tonight. Let me just be sure. Or they've played a few at home, but they were just on the Western road trip. Waiting for the score to load. Non-spawn. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're playing Ottawa tonight. My phone's being very slow. I'm recording this early because I want to watch the game tonight. I'm not going to watch Monday Night Raw because wrestling has sucked for a while. Hey, 25th anniversary of Raw. I'll watch that, I guess. 25 anniversary. That's a saga. That's a saga. That's like the trilogy of Star Wars, not the prequels. I didn't hate the prequels. But speaking of sagas, Vadim Shipachyov is a part of the Russian player saga. So, I'm going to break it down for you. If you don't know who Shipachyov is, he is one of the best players in KHL history, I would say. He played from 2005 to 2017. He last played with the St. Petersburg Ska in the KHL. Last points he registered were 76 points, 26 goals, and 26 goals, 50 assists in 50 games. So he comes over and he's like, "Hey, Vegas, 4.5 over 2 years." I'm like, Vegas is like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" One of the first players on their team, and they were really happy with what he did in the World Cup. He was eliminated by Canada, but he led in assists or was close to most points in the tournament. And I'm like, wow, this guy's going to make the roster and he's going to do great. This is going to be fun to watch this guy. I've been a fan, and he was one of those guys that I grasped to or fell in love with Vegas. I just love the idea of him and how amazing he could potentially be for Vegas. Like, yeah, go ahead, Vegas. Sure, good. So early into the season, just before their first game, I would say 2 days before, LA, or not LA, Vegas, not Las Vegas, no money into the Las Vegas jar. So everybody thought this was a paper transition. They sent Shea Theodore and Vadim Shipachyov, arguably two of their most highly touted players, most potential on their team, excluding James Neal and Marc-Andre Fleury. They sent them down. I'm like, everybody was like, oh yeah, oh, this is just a paper transition so they can, because there were some injuries, we gotta make sure the roster fits. And I was waiting for the call up and me being, I picked him in the pool. I picked him in my hockey pool. I need him to play. I need him to play, dang it. I need him to play. So he didn't play for a while. He was sent down to the AHL, and did he play at all with the Chicago Wolves? He didn't play at all with the Chicago Wolves, and that will come back to bite him, as I will say in a few moments. So there were a few injuries. Jonathan Marchessault, Marc-Andre Fleury was hurt. There were a few players that were hurt and put on the injury reserve. So, what am I going to say? What would I say in this instance? I'm trying to get my train of thought. Montreal plays. I just got the notification. Yay. He was called up and he's like, yeah, I'm going to play, yeah. I remember the game. Was it against? I'm trying to think of the team. Was it against St. Louis? Can't really remember. Nah, whatever. So against a team, of course, who else would it wouldn't be in practice. So he was called up. Who else was it Alex Tuck? Alex Tuck was also called up. They both scored their first NHL goals. Vadim Shipachyov scored. It was a good goal. And then 3 games later, he hadn't produced a point, but he didn't look bad. He legitimately didn't look bad in his 3 games played with Vegas. Almost said Las Vegas. Didn't, though. There's another dollar not in the Las Vegas Golden Knight jar. Whatever. Like, I gotta cut that joke. So he didn't look bad, but Vegas was like, Marchesola's back. Let's send him down to the American League. The AHL. Whatever. uh, they sent him down. They assigned him to the Chicago Wolves. Multiple players that were injured returned again. So he didn't go to Chicago to play. He was like, no, I'm going to stay in Vegas with my family, party a bit, probably. I'm assuming things now. He didn't go and play with Chicago. And Vegas was, I'm pretty sure this happened today or yesterday. Vegas was put down the banhammer and suspended him. Now, I know what Vegas is doing right now. Vegas is trying to get him to terminate his contract. Now, just like the Mark Streit thing, if they both come to terms and they're like, let's terminate the contract. And that's what they want Vadim Shipachyov to do. They want to get him mad. They want him to leave and go back to Russia, the KHL. They want him to ship his way back. Oh, see what I did there, Shipachyov. The ship has set sail for Vegas and Shipachyov. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They really want him really desperately to cut ties and go back to Russia and play for St. Petersburg, who really doesn't need them. They currently have Pavel Datsyuk. They have Ilya Kovalchuk. They have a lot of really good players on that team. That is the Golden State Warriors of the KHL, I would say. That makes a lot of sense, Owen. So, the Vegas and Shipachyov saga. It's a trilogy. They send him down, call him up, they send him down and suspend it. That's kind of like the Hunger Games trilogy. Last one's a 2-parter. There might be a 4th movie or 5th movie. You never know. Does he get traded? Let me talk about the trade here. Now, the first thing I heard when they were like, oh, we can trade him. He is sent down and his agent requested that he be traded or things like that. Or terminate his contract, which they didn't blatantly say, but I can definitely feel they want to. But he wants his money, dang it. So, the first partner everybody thought that Vegas would trade with would be Montreal. We do lack depth at center. Our centers are... Hey, Jonathan Drouin has really turned into the center. Everybody's like, yeah, but he's a left winger, he's a right winger, he plays really good wing. He has really played well at center. His numbers look really good at center. Even though we are like 31st or 30th in face-off draws this year, he's been the face-off or bright spot at face-off this year. He has been very good at center, and he's been there the entire season. So that gives me the idea, maybe if you played Alex Galchenyuk in the same position for more than 1 game, 2 games, that maybe he can turn into that and show what he's worth, and show what he's got. And they're doing it to Jonathan Drouin, and I read Andrew Berkshire article on how his transition has been from winger to centerman, and he as a person was fine with being transitioned, and I know Montreal wouldn't want to do something to jeopardize his potential and his mental state at how he can get mad. Remember the whole Tampa thing? It's in the past. He's here in Montreal and he's playing very good at center. Talking about the center depth, we have Philip Daniel, Plekanec, Torrey Mitchell. Yeah, that's it. So the thing is, Montreal, oh, Marc Bergevin blatantly said, even though I don't trust him, I will not make a panic trade. Does anybody really trust him anymore? I will not trade PK Subban. He is a really big part of this franchise. Shea Weber to Montreal for PK Subban. We will not trade Mikhail Sergachev, and Mikhail Sergachev is traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning for Jonathan Drouin. Sergachev has a lot of points this year, but I still love the trade. I still love Jonathan Drouin. I love what he does, and he's really good at hockey. So, Montreal, if this were to happen, see, what are my thoughts on this? What personally, should they do it? Shouldn't they? I think if Montreal continues to go upward and we start getting to the 500 mark, if we don't do that soon, the season is over. We are second last in the NHL. So, right. I was watching the game not yesterday, the New York game, and I saw that it showed Montreal 30th place in the NHL. I'm like, but the Coyotes have like 9 losses, 10 losses. Oh, right, there's 31 teams in the league. That's still screwing me up. I still think it should be 32 because 31 is an uneven number, and it's like, meh. So, if Montreal continues to spiral upward, and we need that extra punch to just push us over the edge, I don't want to get Vadim Shipachyov. Love that name, though. Vadim Shipachyov. Sorry, that was random. I don't want to get Vadim Shipachyov if we are under 500. But we need that player to get to 500. It's not smart. You can't. I know we have a lot of cap, but if we were to acquire a guy like Vadim, they would have to retain some. And coming from the Vegas point of view, they really want to get rid of him. They don't want the cap, but they have a bunch of cap. They don't want that kind of guy on their team anymore. They really want to terminate and sever the connection with the team. So think about them. How much could you get for Vadim Shipachyov? Sixth round pick is way too low. Way too low for a guy like Vadim because he's got potential and he's shown he can score. And Montreal needs plenty of that. And this is a want for Montreal. So Vegas doesn't need him, but that's too low of value. 6th round pick is too low. Montreal has, well, we technically only have 1 second round pick, but I'm pretty sure Mikhail Sergachev is going to play 40 games, which would give us our 2nd round pick back. Pretty sure it's a Washington 2nd round pick, I believe. Was that in the Andrew Shaw trade? I think so. One of those. Pretty sure it was the Andrew Shaw trade. So the Andrew Shaw trade. Where was I? So, wow, I lost it. This is awful. Where was I? I talked about Mikhail Sergachev and I got really sad. Okay, here we go. Even my notes don't help me. I'm sorry. Just ignore everything. Ignore those past 30 seconds. So, 2nd round pick is too high. considering if we are a team that's going to suck, which it looks like it, but we also have that potential we can be better than this. And Montreal is a team that can be better than this. That has shown we can be better than this. Second round pick is too high. We got to keep those picks. Third round picks are expendable. Third and fourths are expendable. I don't think Vadim is worth a second or a prospect under the terms that he wants out and Vegas wants to get rid of him. Usually you ask for higher if, oh, you want to keep him and he has value and... Right? Right. So I'm thinking a third or a fourth, no prospects for him with retained value. Vegas can do it. Montreal can't hold on to that cap considering Pacioretty. Plenty of players are at their UFA years and their contracts expire this year in June, or whenever the season ends. They want to hold on to as much money as they possibly can. And if you retain 50% of the contract, that would leave it with $2.25 million a year, which is less than Plekanec's. It's less, I think it's the third least for centers on the Montreal Canadiens. You can play him top 2 role. You don't even have to play him on center, but you should. Keep Torrey Mitchell scratched. I believe he's the 4th line center for us right now. But that he would be important on a winning team. Not so much on a team that can suck. So do I think Montreal should do it? It's a risky thing to do, but we know our Russians, Radulov, that ring a bell. But it shouldn't be a shot in the dark. I think if we start to trend upwards, like I said, we should acquire a guy like that. A guy who has offensive output. But Mark Bergevin hates character players. Oh, trust me, I'm going to get to that. So, do I think Montreal is going to acquire him? No, they're not going to acquire him because Montreal is not going to trend upward. Or 500. And a team currently not in the slightest, or would have to go on in a 10-game win streak. They have never done that before in their franchise. 0-10-1, 1 point in overtime against the Anaheim Ducks. The Arizona Coyotes tied the worst season start in the history of the NHL. They tied the NHL record, longest losing streak from start of a season. The 1943-44 New York Rangers got off to the worst start in NHL history with 11 straight losses. 4 other teams have lost 7 consecutive games to begin the season. More recently, the Chicago Blackhawks in 98, 97. Wow. I didn't expect them to be this bad. I expected them to be better than they were last year. They're playing worse in Colorado. Oh my god. Still think they've scored more goals than us, but wow. Wow, they are bad. Wow. 0-10-1. They play Philadelphia tonight. Do they snap that streak? Here's my prediction. Philadelphia wins 5-2. Worst start of a season ever. They are the reverse 2013 Chicago Blackhawks or 2012 Chicago Blackhawks. Whatever. Whenever they won the cup and they went on that ridiculously long streak. And then lost to Colorado. Wow. Small world, am I right? Considering Arizona acquired Hallam Jarlson, or whatever his name is. Derek Stepan, New York's arguably best center, New York Rangers. Antti Ranta, who has looked awful, considering Arizona has been awful. They traded D'Angelo, who wouldn't crack the roster for Arizona this year. Clayton Keller, who is first in the scoring race with Brock Besser? I don't know. Can somebody explain that to me? Tweet me if whatever it is. I really don't know which one it would be. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Clayton Keller is really good. He's really, really friggin' good. I think they were hoping that Dylan Strome would pan out this year and crack the roster and be a decent NHL player this year. And Arizona has just been bad. They have been historically bad. Historically bad. And the New York Rangers, that year, it was World War II, dang it. They didn't even have a team, really. They were not... They didn't have anybody on the roster, and they lost 11 in a row. Arizona can break that tonight, and I think they are. It's a cancer in their locker room. Rick Tocchet, the coach, I'm pretty sure he's the coach. I don't know what it is. They have a lot of talent in their franchise, and this was a year that they needed to get out of the bottom, or at least contend for a wild card, contend to be in the playoffs. Not be this god-awful. Colorado was god-awful last year, but they didn't start off this bad. If Montreal's trying to tank, I don't know if they're going to out-tank the Arizona Coyotes. Rasmus Dahlin. They are a horror show. An absolute horror show there in Arizona. And you know what? I'm cheering for them tonight. Go Arizona. If Montreal's trying to tank, go Arizona. Go Arizona. I'm sorry, Philly. I hope Nolan Patrick gets like 7 points for my pool. I picked him in my pool because I didn't have a lot of Canadians. And I'm like, I need a Canadian. So, let me talk about the rest of the NHL. Arizona is its own thing. Let me talk about things happening in the NHL right now. Tampa Bay. No longer the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are the Tampa Bay Ridiculously Good. That is their new name. You can buy jerseys at NHL.com. Any website you can get your hands on. Still the same logo, but they're ridiculous. They are... I know I'm supposed to hate Tampa Bay, but when Montreal's doing bad, oh my god, Tampa Bay. Two of the best players in the world, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov. They broke Tampa Bay's best start to the season, or point streak, with 12. Oh my god. And then both of them were severed against Anaheim, the streaks. No, those are two players on the team. Oh, both of them get hurt. Knock on wood. You don't want them both to get... Oh, both of them aren't playing very well. Oh, you got Victor Hedman. Oh, you got Tyler Johnson. Oh, you got Andre Palat. Oh, Mikhail Sergachev. Oh, Strawman. Psh, goaltending. Psh, he wasn't very good last year. Oh, Andrei Vasilevsky is like making Halak-like saves this year, and he's won like 8 in a row. Or was he in the game against Anaheim? Whatever, he won a lot in a row for Tampa Bay. So good on them. Good on them. it's fun to see a team that ridiculously good, and it's nice to see Steven Stamkos showing the haters that he is one of the best in the world. I love to see the signature on one knee and sniping a goal on the power play on the left circle. It's nice to see. It's really fun. And right behind Tampa Bay, the Toronto Maple Leafs, 2-game skid, I think. They lost against Carolina and they lost against Philadelphia. 2-game skid, lost 3 of the last 4, and people are panicking in Toronto. You can obviously see the faults in their system, like the defense. They know their defense isn't the best in the world. Okay, what defense is better? Like defensive core alone, Montreal's or Toronto's? Like on paper, tell me. I want you to tweet at me if you're listening to this. My Twitter is in the description if you're listening to this on YouTube or wherever I decide to put it up, because I still haven't put it on SoundCloud yet because I don't have the money to membership and I lost my time, and that's the question. That is the question. That is one of the questions. Who has better defense on paper? Just a random question out there. So the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of their flaws. Oh, sorry, defense isn't home right now. Oh, sorry, we have Austin Matthews and we have William Nylander and we have so many other players. Mitch Marner, or say Mitch Marner? Oh, Matt Martin. Oh, James Van Riemsdyk, who was hurt. That sucks. But Roman Polak is the best player in the world. Where is he from? I feel that's a Czech name. Roman Polak. Roman Polak. He looks really depressed in his photos online. Is that just me? He looks like really sad and sad. So they play the San Jose Sharks tonight in San Jose. Marleau has his first game back against his former team. First time he's playing against them since he was drafted in 98. He's drafted the same year as Thornton. Wow. That is ridiculous. I don't know how you play that long with a franchise. Like I was saying, Henrik Lundqvist, Carey Price. How can you play with a franchise that long and be that good? How many times did San Jose miss the playoffs when he was on that team? Twice? 3 times? 4 times? Out of the decades he was there? Was he there 2 decades? Almost 2 decades. That's a long time. He got slower, but man, oh man, he's good. And he said in an interview, well, Joe Thornton didn't have a great game in his first game with Boston, or against Boston, so I hope to do different tonight. And I hope he does well too. I know there's going to be a cry-worthy compilation of him in San Jose tonight in the Shark Den. That doesn't make me Shark Tank. Sorry, I keep getting the two mixed up. Shark Tank and Dragon's Den. Meh. Shark Den. Dragon Tank. I don't know. So, and here's the other thing going around on Twitter and in the NHL world. Joshua Lievo has had a 3-point game streak 3 different times. It's not consecutive games. How many points does he have to score a game to get in the lineup? Oh, you put Kapanen in the lineup for James Van Riemsdyk, but does Babcock just... Is this another free Frankie Corrado? Does Joshua Lievo have to leavo? Does he have to leavo? Does he have to leavo this team? Hashtag Lievo. Do you get it? I mean, leave, but whatever. Wow. I wish we had a player like that. Geez, just hey, we'll take you. We can borrow him for a while, right, Toronto? Oh, and speaking of borrowing, uh, Griffin Reinhart went on waivers the other day, and I had an exchange with the Derp Report on Twitter, and I said, I really want him. And the Derp Report was replied, that makes a lot of sense. He's bounced around a lot, and he would be a perfect fit, or at least a decent try in Montreal. Almost said Toronto. In Montreal. And I agreed with that. I definitely agreed with that. So we didn't pick him up. Nobody picked him up. He cleared waivers. He has bounced around. So he was drafted by a franchise that didn't know what they were doing. New York Islanders at the time. And then he was traded to a team that didn't know what they were doing, the Edmonton Oilers. And then he went to a team that is brand new, like baby out of the womb, new, and he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So, and he's got potential. The potential has faded. He was a very high draft pick. I think he went fourth overall to the New York, fourth, fifth overall to the New York Islanders a few years ago. He's in his mid 20s, 23, 24. I would have loved to have him on the team. I think he would fit in better than Davidson. I don't know. I have a hate for Davidson. I don't know. He looks like Dracula and he's gonna suck the. I'm sorry. I've used that joke 2 times already. Speaking of jokes, how the hell are the Vegas Golden Knights still doing this good? How? How? So in the Vegas betting odds, do they bet on themselves, or are they just smart enough to know they're not going to be this good forever? I didn't see them in the odds to win the Stanley Cup. And they usually go by wins and like, oh, we're doing so good, we're so hot right now. And there's pain coming. You know that, right? I don't care what you say. There is pain coming their way, and it's gonna suck for a while. They're gonna lose all their bandwagon fans. I know it's how franchises work. Early franchises, just Winnipeg, Atlanta, St. Louis, even though they were good the first few years, Philadelphia, all the new Columbus, Nashville, all these teams. It's smart franchise wise to build up your team through the draft instead of keeping on to 12 NHL defensemen and most of them in the minors. Yes, Vegas, that's a lot. A lot of trading assets. 1-year deals. See, if they win this year, it's good to build a fan base. And I think it's good this early to be building a strong faith for their team. Because if they hold on that fact and they start getting bad, which they will, I can guarantee it. Uh, it holds on to the hope that they can be this good again if they were this good with this kind of team. Right? Right. I don't know how long it's going to last. If you want to hear something funny, the Pittsburgh Penguins got whooped by the Winnipeg Jets last night. 7-1. I was watching The Walking Dead. Amazing TV show. One of the best TV shows on TV. Blake Wheeler set the fastest hat trick in Atlanta Thrasher Winnipeg Jets franchise history. In 4 minutes and 20 seconds, 420 blaze it, am I right? He was blazing the back of the net. Back of the net with his pucks. Poor Matt Murray. Poor goalie playing his first NHL game. Blake Wheeler scores on his first shot against him. Sucks, but what are you going to do? Pittsburgh lost 7-1. They've had a lot of blowouts this season. Sucks, but what are you going to do? I mean, you shouldn't be panicking if you're a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, right? Should you I should. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Should you be panicking, Pittsburgh? Should you be panicking, Pittsburgh? Should you be panicking, Pittsburgh? That's one of those words or sentences that you can say, and it's like, Peter picked a pack of peppers. How many pickers? I'm sorry. So, wow, they've had a lot of blowouts this season. Just the Chicago game, their first game of the season. Chicago's first game of the season. They've had a few. They've had a few really bad blowouts this season. But they are the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't see them not making the playoffs. They're making the playoffs easily. Probably one of the best seeds. I know, Matt Murray's young. Their backup is who? Ah, right. Anthony Niemi went to Florida. I think it was Florida. Florida! They were so anti-Niemi. Pittsburgh were so anti-Niemi. I'll go home. So, here are my last thoughts. My last thoughts. I promised you, you in particular, that I would talk about this. Marc Bergevin and the Marc Bergevin era. I love getting mad. Ooh, I'm going to get so heated for this. So, Marc Bergevin says, he didn't go to a press conference before the Florida win. And before the Florida win, he was like, I don't want to talk about it. And then after the Florida win, he's like, oh, okay, guys, can I come out? Can I talk now? He wasn't hiding behind a plan. He said, I take full responsibility. Listen to this. Listen to what I'm saying. He said, quote, I take full responsibility for what the team is accomplishing or doing. Okay, a good move on him. He takes full responsibility. And then he completely projects. He projects, finding another scapegoat. He says the answer to the problems are in the locker room. This is another PK Subban thing. We suck. We got to find another scapegoat. Who was our scapegoat this year? Scapegoat that year was PK Subban. The scapegoat the year after that was Michel Therrien. The scapegoat this year? Who's the scapegoat this year? They're probably going to say Pacioretty or Price because it's Marc Bergevin. It's Marc Bergevin. It's what he does. He finds scapegoats and he does what he needs to do as a person trying to make money in this world. Trying to do what he needs to do, quote unquote. He said he took full responsibility. And then he says the answers to our problems lie in the locker room. That doesn't make any sense. Those are two phrases that totally contradict each other. God. Molson, fire this man already. He is not good for the franchise. I had an argument with my dad. He's a Leafs fan. I'm a Habs fan, if you already don't know that. He said, oh, it's too early to fire him. And then I said, it's not too early. I do not trust the person who made this mess to clean it up. Okay, we're on fire. We're just going to wait the entire or half the season to put it out. Put it out now. He is a cancer to this locker room. This team is disease-ridden with him and his aura. It's not a very good aura. It's not good. The whole team is just like the Leafs of a few years ago. Scorched earth policy, they got rid of everything except key pieces like Riley, Nylander, Marner. Or Marner was... Never mind. Marner wasn't a part of that. Or James Van Riemsdyk, Bozak. Scorched earth policy. They got rid of the cancer. They blew it up. And man, oh man, it hurts to say this, but Bergevin has really hurt our franchise. He has done horrendously as a general manager. Oh, but I used to be player. I have a cup with Detroit. Psh. You won with, let's see, the Lidstrom, Yzerman Detroit Red Wings. Oh, the Hasek Detroit Red Wings. Oh, you won with the Detroit Red Wings. Whatever. Marc Bergevin is cancer to this team. He's been cancer for 2-3 years now. And he's finally running out of scapegoats or scapegoats that quote unquote make sense to him. He's going to use the captain as a scapegoat? How many times has a general manager done that? Been like, the captain's the problem. The captain will go out and take full responsibility for the problems because they're a captain. PK Subban, he said he was an issue. And that's another reason, or personality issue, or character issue. He's a character player. Steve Ott and Dwight King and blah, 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 blah. Me, Bergevin, me like character bottom line player. Last year was Michel Therrien, like, you know what? He's still working for the franchise, by the way. He's a scout. He's trying to find David Desharnais 2.2 or 2.0, whatever. This year, who is he going to use? Who is he going to use if he stays in office? I'm speaking like he's the president or something. Prime Minister, because he's Canadian. Does he use Pacioretty for a scapegoat? The captain? Is he going to use our franchise player, Carey Price? Do you know how much the fans would revolt if that were to happen? You know that to be true. If he were to use Carey Price as the scapegoat, he would get fired immediately. And Molson is not a stupid man. He writes the checks, and Marc Bergevin has signed for a few more years, and losing that money might suck to him, but he knows what's right for the franchise. I trust him, kind of. Fire him. Those are my last words. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave a like. Go to my Twitter, at RealBeautyMan. Hey, I'm rebranding, kind of. I made a new logo. It was a project for marketing class. And it's a 3 thumbs up podcast. I might... See, the things I talk about are film and comedy and hockey. That's 3. I also have 3 thumbs. Get over it. So I'm rebranding, kind of. Whatever. Soon in the days, you'll know soon if you're listening to this. I hope you had a fantastic day. If you want to have an even more fantastic day, subscribe, listen to my other podcast. I can go on and talk and talk and talk. Most of my podcasts are around an hour long. That can give you time to listen to some hockey news, listen to the Montreal Canadiens.